Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I am Rich and I'm joined by Josh.
Hello, Rich.
And yesterday we had our first actual glimpse at the PlayStation 5. But not necessarily the console itself, but the controller was revealed on the PlayStation blog last night. The DualSense, which instantly makes me think, oh no, it's another 6-axis. They're going to try something different. But
Rich, no.
That was revealed last night, and Mr. Brown here has got a bunch of details for you regarding this controller, which initially I think looks gorgeous.
Yes, me too. Like, I've seen a lot of people, obviously it's the internet, so anything is going to be divisive, you know what I mean? But like, I first saw it because it was randomly revealed, like you said, just dropped out of nowhere on the PlayStation blog. And I think the core design of it looks really, really lush. Like, I wasn't expecting a white controller for one, because it's obviously this nice two-tone design between white and black, and you've got the little LEDs on the side. And like, the shape of it looks good. The the colors look good in my opinion. It's all good. I feel like Joey Tribbiani eating that meat cake in Friends, and it's just, it shouldn't work. This doesn't really look necessarily, distinctly PlayStation, but I'm here for it.
I mean, there's, obviously, as you said, there's a lot of people who don't like this controller, and I can kind of see why. But the fact that they've gone on with something like this is quite ambitious for a controller, because when it comes to controllers nowadays, we know what we're expecting. Like the Series X controller is just an Xbox One controller, and that's fine, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I kind of think the same about the DualShock 4. I've always been a bit not too happy with the original DualShock 1, 2, and 3. I thought they weren't very comfortable over time, whereas the DualShock 4 I thought was fantastic. So it looks like they're going for a proper hybrid between the two. It reminds me of I can't remember the specific name for it, but Razer make a PS4 controller that's a lot chunkier, and it looks more like an Xbox One controller than a PS4 controller. And it looks like that's almost what they're doing here.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. There is people have mocked up other colors, and there is a black version of the
yes, I saw that.
Yeah, that looks exactly like one of those Razer or Mad Catz sort of, third-party tie-ins. But yeah, it is like you said, it's weird, man. It's like not what you expect, because you do expect just a natural progression from the DualShock 4. That was such a good controller, and I totally agree with you that the DualShock 1 to 3, they weren't for me. In fact, I had a big crisis when choosing between the Xbox One and the PS4 over the controller, because I thought I can't play on another DualShock 3. I just can't do it. It's too light, it's too plasticky, it's not really responsive. But they seem to have really taken those criticisms to heart. And they've even said in the blog post about all of the things they've tried to address, going off what consumers want, going off what developers want. And essentially, they try to stick as close to the DualShock 4 as possible. But some of the new features that they've added into the controller have kind of made that impossible. So the two biggies are haptic feedback, which comes in the the actual, what do you call this, Rich? You're more intelligent.
The grips.
The grips.
The grips.
Yeah, that comes in the grip. So essentially,
the thighs.
The thighs of the controller. That's replacing the rumble feature, essentially. So it's going to be more nuanced. They use the example of, if you are driving a car through mud, you will feel it in the way the controller responses, and that's going to be backed up by the adaptive triggers, which will add more tension to doing things like, pulling a bow and arrow. Like, it'll make the idea of shooting a gun that bit more immersive. But obviously, with that new tech, it comes a bit of a bulkier design, so they've had to accommodate for the added features by making the controller a bit larger and, like you said, closer to the Xbox One size.
And to be honest, that is perfectly fine. Like, the more that the DualShock becomes the Xbox One controller, I think it's not a bad thing by any stretch. When you think about the haptic feedback, playing Forza Horizon 4 with an Xbox One controller and feeling the vibration beneath the triggers when you're braking and on certain surfaces is the best feeling in the world. And getting that on the DualShock 4 will feel amazing for future Gran Turismo games or something like that. But yeah, I think back to the two-tone color design, it is quite ambitious for them to do. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, okay, are they going to be going in and doing various color schemes from the off? Whereas normally we get, by default, basically it's usually black. That's both on the Xbox and PlayStation side, and then maybe a while in we get the white variant of it. PS4 just said, hey, here's the Glacier White one. Xbox One said, here's the Sunset Overdrive console, which was white. But does this mean that the actual console itself, the system, is going to be two-tone as well? Will it be black and white, or will they keep that black and keep the controller white, or will they come out and say, hey, here's like 3 or 4 different color options from the off, like almost like PlayStation are kicking off a really expensive iPod Nano?
Oh my god, I forgot all about iPod Nanos. But yeah, man, like that's a great question. That's what everyone's sort of wondering at the moment, because you would assume the actual console itself to follow in the footsteps of the controller, just like the DualShock 4 did, because that was announced before we actually saw the console, and that clued us into the fact that, well, it's just going to be another black machine. Whereas here, you would assume that the console, maybe it might invert it might have more black and then a bit of white, but it might just follow the same, trend as the DualSense and buck trends and be a white controller. And it's interesting that over the past few weeks, we've had a lot of rumors suggesting that the PS5 is trying to not copy Microsoft, but the fact that they're using similar technology means the design and the shape will have to follow Microsoft, because it's going to that's just the best way to have to cool the system and stuff like that. It's designed in a specific way to maximize its efficiency, essentially. And I wonder if they're getting out with this new color scheme so that if they do have to make the design of the console itself close to what the Xbox One X's tower looks like, they have something to differentiate it and say, look, yeah, we might have had to make the design a specific way, but we're still making our color scheme, our aesthetic, distinctive and unique to PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, as we were saying in the news the other day, like, it's not a bad thing if that's the approach they have to take. Like, it's very obvious that the Series X is going for where you're going to put this like next to your TV or on a table or something. This isn't going to sit underneath your TV. And I think after the Switch came out 3 years ago, we know that the idea of putting something on top of your TV stand to go alongside your TV isn't completely alien, because I'm pretty certain that's where most people have their Switch docks, because obviously with the way it's designed, it kind of has to be there. So they know that people have that space and they're willing to use that space, which is why Xbox decided to build up instead of build outwards. But yeah, I agree with you what you mean about the PS5 taking that design and doing the same kind of thing. And at the end of the day, yeah, you might say it's really similar to the One X, and it's like, but yeah, you look at any other console, they all look the same anyway.
Yeah, man.
Large.
I don't think there's any shame in that, because the One X and the Xbox One had that controller is really good. Like, it's a bit too mechanical for me. It clacks a bit too much, but the design of it is really satisfying. And if Sony has to, I think it's better for them to take some cues from that rather than be stubborn and just say, no, this is our design, we're going to chug on with it, even if we know it might not be, the best or most ergonomically satisfying. But they have made a few core changes to some of the buttons and some of the features. There is now an inbuilt microphone, which on the blog, Sony explained that now you won't necessarily have to buy a headset to talk to your friends in party chat and things like that. They did recommend it for longer play sessions, but say you wanted to jump in and talk to them just through the dashboard, that would be possible without having to plug something in, which is quite nice. And they've replaced the share button with something called the create button. And now they haven't elaborated on that, but essentially it's going to be building on what the share button started and allowing you to do more things in game and, alter your footage or whatever, and just essentially just expand on the fact that you are sharing your gameplay, you are creating something with that gameplay and making it as easy as possible. So I'm quite looking forward to that.
Does that mean they're going to have some kind of like editing suite? So obviously I know that you can trim your videos and things, but do you think they would give you the opportunity to take the clips you've made and actually like put them together in like almost like making a frag movie?
Well, Rich,
directly on your PS4.
I'm pleased you've asked, because I have a theory about this. I think the create button will actually integrate, what's it even called? Is it the Share Factory on the PlayStation 4? Where it essentially is an editing suite. I think that will be built into the system, and when you hit that create button, you will get a suite that is either exactly like that or very similar to it, so you can make those changes, much easier than you can now, where you have to quit out, go into a separate application. I just think it'll be better integrated, and I'm here for that. I didn't expect to use the share button when it was announced, because back then I didn't have YouTube or any aspirations to.
I mean, it was 2013, YouTube, so we all didn't really know about the sort of how big YouTube would be and Twitch and things like that. That didn't really come about, but it showed that both Xbox and PlayStation were ahead of the curve. But there's only like 1 or 2 things that I don't like about this, which is something we haven't talked about yet.
Yes.
And that the first one is a very, very sort of pernickety thing for me, and that's the fact that the PlayStation button is a weird chromey color against the black. I think it looks it looks kind of cheap. It looks like it's trying to be premium, but it makes it look cheap, which is a bit of a shame. If it was like more of a solid silver or solid white, or even just completely black, like almost camouflaged in, then maybe I could give it a pass. And the only other thing is the fact that, as we've been saying, we both really like the DualShock 4, and I managed to get. I've got a weird thing for silver controllers. So the sort of. I've never been a big fan of the white controllers, but the two-tone one here I really like. But I bought a steel black DualShock 4, which I think is absolutely beautiful, and I got that. And when I bought it, I thought, if this isn't compatible with the PS5, I'm gonna be really sad, because I'm just gonna have this DualShock 4 that's sitting around. But by the looks of what buttons we've got, apart from losing your haptic feedback and losing the inbuilt microphone, they might let you use them, because didn't they allow? Was it DualShock 4 working on PS3?
Yes, it was that. Yeah, they went essentially backwards. So you couldn't use the DualShock 3 on the 4, but you could use the 4 on the 3. It was very confusing, and actually led me to accidentally purchasing FIFA 14, which is not good, and I never used it ever again. But yeah, I think the way that Sony has been talking about backwards compatibility and making this the most easiest transition between console generations ever, I think that would be something they're aware of. And by the sounds of it, they've tried to keep as close to the DualShock 4 as possible. It's not a big jump in terms of core buttons and features and design as it was from the DualShock 3 to the 4, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was compatible, because like you said, a lot of people have invested a lot into controllers for the PlayStation 4. You've got the 20th anniversary edition. You've got, like you said, those lovely steel black ones, grey ones, white ones, and I think it would make sense to port those over and yet still allow the DualSense to stand on its own, because a lot of these features do sound good, and I think people will want to buy into them anyway, rather than just having to be forced into it or whatever.
I'm not gonna lie, I was actually expecting the DualSense to have the two back buttons, because I figured that back button peripheral they made for the DualShock 4 was actually just a lead in to say, hey, this is how the DualShock 5, or what we know now as the DualSense, is actually gonna be, with those extra buttons, like programmable from the off. But that hasn't happened as far as we know, because we haven't. We haven't seen the back of it, have we? Outright. Maybe there are two buttons on the back, and we just don't know yet.
It's weird, because we've seen the front face on, and we've sort of seen
the top and back,
and back essentially. But I think there was even a bunch of patents that were announced a few weeks ago or a few months ago that we even reported on that said that the back buttons would be there. If I do have one gripe, it is that they aren't involved in some way. I'd like to see them as an add-on, but it would have been cool to see them as standard. I do think that is more Sony just trying to keep the weight of it down. They mentioned a bunch of times in the actual blog post that with these new features, they've tried their best to keep the weight down and try to make it feel lighter and smaller than it is, because it looks quite bulky, but apparently the way they designed it with the lines and stuff, they've attempted to minimize the feeling of it being the Duke essentially. So I think that is a big consideration for them when they've been creating it.
Well, it's good to see that they're taking this seriously with the controller, and it makes it sort of, as much as we still haven't seen the PS5 console itself yet, it does give me hope to think, okay, they're taking this really seriously, because you can tell they haven't just sort of bodged this together. Not to say that Xbox have done the same, because again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But when you look at the Series X controller, it's like, this doesn't look like a huge sort of continuation of the Xbox One controller, in the same way that the 360 to the One, they're not like vastly different. But again, ain't broke, don't fix it. And just like one final thing, the fact it's USB Type-C is amazing, because everything's going USB Type-C now, and it's great. And if you've got a Switch, you've already got a bunch of USB Type-C cables, and you can finally start getting rid of the mountain of micro USB cables you've gotten over the last 15 years of your life.
And I really do have a mountain of them, Rich. Goddamn, like my drawers are terrible. They're just gonna all go in the bin.
But yes, that is the DualSense controller. What do you guys think in the comment section below? Do you like the two-tone design? Do you not? Are you going to go with the Xbox Series X, or are you concerned enough with the? Are you too concerned with the PS5 to go for the Series X, or are you going to go for the PS5 and hope that the console is two-tone as well? And give us your color options in the comments below. Do you want to? What two colors do you want to see Sony do? Can I have a DualShock 5 creation lab, please? Sorry, it's a DualSense design lab, because I would really like that. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. I have been Rich.
I have been Josh.
And we will see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.